Welcome to Shotgun Story, the podcast that has conversations with indie creators about music, meaning, and the point of it all, so that you may be inspired by the journeys of other artists who are doing it for themselves, and maybe gain a little more understanding as to why it matters quite so much that you keep creating. I discovered ANDRA some years back when I came back from London in 2008. I wasn't doing music professionally at the time. Some friends of mine had told me about this musician who they loved very deeply, and that I obviously would too, and do love very deeply. And I'm honored to be friends with and have played on stages with. Welcome, ANDRA.
Thank you so much for having me. Man, what an honor. Excited.
So you are from Namibia.
That's right.
Born and raised.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you came to South Africa?
I was about 22, 23.
And reasons for coming?
Reasons for coming. It was just time to try and do this music thing. I was working with my family and we owned a coffee shop together. Well, they owned it and I worked in it, managed it and stuff. I started playing at the cafe on Thursday nights. And then at some point we just all sat down and I told them, I think it's time. And they're like, yeah, you have to go.
Wonderful, and lucky to have a family who's so supportive.
Definitely the best.
I want to look at your career timeline. For listeners who aren't familiar with your music, to give them a little bit of context, if you were to look at your career as a timeline, what 5 highlights would you give us?
For slightly more underground artists, when we are asked this question, and it comes up a lot, you know, even though I've been doing this for 13 years already, it still comes up a lot. We are kind of gently forced to name drop to give yourself more value as an artist. And I hate that so much because I can name a lot of huge names who I've shared stages with or toured with and stuff like that. But I so desperately don't want to do that today. So I would say a highlight for me is just literally every time I get to play the songs for people who want to hear them and feel them with me. And because the songs become something different every time when there's other people listening to it. And for me, that's everything.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I love that. I love that desire not to name drop, to be honest. It says a lot about where you come from as a musician. And I suppose that's, for me, what I love most is your integrity as an artist.
If people want to find, they will find the music. You know what I mean? If they're curious listening to this, maybe they'll go out and search for it and stuff, and then they will know. Me talking about it won't show people.
Absolutely, and we'll play something just now so that people can have a sense, and I feel like they will be pulled to go on a search for you.
Bless you.
So now, why music? What sparked your love? What inspired you to start making music in the first place?
I think I was born this way. I was born an artist, I think, and somehow music was the language I was given to express that or to journey through life with. And I was very lucky to have been born in a house where there was always music around. My gran played the accordion and my mom played guitar and piano and my dad played guitar, and there was just always music around, and you know, they listened to really quality stuff. And I think it just kind of made it okay that this could be a choice for me. So yeah, I could give credit to my family for that one.
Wonderful. So you then started playing guitar quite young?
Quite young, yes. I was about 9 or 10. I started on a cricket bat, just miming with Bruce Springsteen. And then my dad felt sorry for me. He's like, hey, here's a guitar. You look ridiculous.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing about families and music is the harmonies. Was that a part of your upbringing?
Not at all. We actually very seldom made music together. There was never like this family band thing, which I think would have been so cool, but we spent a lot of time appreciating music together. So we would listen to music a lot. We would have these requests evenings where we all get to play our favorite, like our top 5 favorites at the time. And everybody had to listen, even if they hated it, you know, and my sister and I would listen to obviously things at the time, you know, the 90s music, and it's Nirvana and all these things. And my parents were like, this is great. And we would just appreciate the stuff together, I think.
Sweet parents.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. What do they call that these days? iPod roulette.
Oh my goodness.
I know.
I didn't know that was a thing. I should write that down. I'm so old.
I mean, I keep thinking we should do a concept show where we have a whole bunch of artists. And I mean, it's slightly different. We have a whole bunch of artists on stage. Everybody has submitted their favorite tracks.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a jukebox evening.
Yes.
And an audience member can spin this thing.
Okay.
And then one of the tracks comes out. And then whoever's track it is then has to play.
Oh, that's such a cool idea.
Wouldn't that be so fun? We should do that.
I love it. Definitely.
We will.
That idea was coined by Shotgun Tory, just to make that clear.
Put
that in there.
Okay. So, your whys. Now, this is the most important thing. What? Everything's crazy. And we're going to talk about the craziness of everything.
Yeah.
But somehow, amidst the craziness, we need to keep making. You know, Viktor Frankl said, if you have a why, you can deal with any how. So your why, what drives you to create?
It often feels to me like I've got no choice in the matter. I came here to do this, despite the challenges and how it feels sometimes and self-doubt and all these things. But the thing that drives me to do this is that it hurts a lot more to not do it than to actually keep trying to do this. So, you know, the pain of not doing it is greater than the pain of doing it.
Yeah.
And it sounds really miserable actually saying that out loud. But, you know, there's a lot of love and there's a lot of joy and connection. And it's like I feel big parts of the music is there to feel on behalf of people who don't know how to voice how they're feeling. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of I can't not do this.
Completely. And you can hear it in your music. That depth of feeling.
Yeah.
What inspires you?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing inspires me. I think inspiration is so much greater than anything that's around us. People think, or they tend to assume, people who aren't artists themselves, or who think they aren't artists, think that we listen to a piece of music and we're like, oh, this is so great, I want to do this. And that's not what inspiration is for me. Inspiration is, it's kind of like a force that just assists you into feeling okay that you're doing what you're doing. You do the work, and sometimes inspiration shows up and it breathes life into it with you. It's this unknown that you tap into sometimes. And sometimes it's very inconvenient, like when you're driving and it just shows up out of nowhere. But it always returns, you know, even if you're not quite in the space to receive it. But yeah, it's something I collaborate with. It's not something that I go and look for, if that makes any sense.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, on a practical level, let's say you're driving and inspiration strikes. What do you do in those circumstances?
I would agree with one of my favorites, Tom Waits. He has had moments like that as well. And he said something to the effect of, you know what, this is really inconvenient. Could you go and bother someone else right now? Because can you see that I'm driving? This is really rude. So I'll see you later.
Okay, wonderful.
There's always enough to go around. So you find another one or another one finds you when you can actually sit with a piece of paper or your guitar or your ukulele or whatever and capture it.
So, I mean, I know it's not ideal, but I've started opening my voice notes and just jotting it down. And
Great.
Sometimes when you think this is never going to come back as good as this.
Definitely. No, that's a great idea. Practical things.
But if the cop finds you.
You see, I'm not a good multitasker. I can't do that. I don't know how. Like, yeah.
Keep doing it your way. Your way is safer and better and
not
more
a
legal.
city girl.
Okay, let's talk a bit about your songwriting processes. I mean, I don't want to say what comes first because I know it's different for everybody and different in different moments. But talk us through a little bit about writing a song.
Most often, and like you said, it keeps changing. It's not like there's this recipe that you follow. So cool, now I'm going to write a song. Step 1, step 2. It doesn't. I wish it worked that way because that would be so much easier. But for me, it's often it starts with the music because that's for me music is such an incredible language, and it can warp and shape words into meaning something completely different. Yeah. So I always start with the music so that I can manipulate actual language to saying what I want it to say or what the song wants it to say.
Okay.
So yeah, I would just have like a phrase or a lick or just a chord progression or something, and I just let it flow and see how it feels. And then that feeling guides what the words would be.
So my favorite song of yours in the beginning was Cockroach.
Okay.
I want to know about that song. How did it arise?
You know, it's often the most silly ones that almost don't make it. You know what I mean? Because it was just this song that showed up out of nowhere. I was living in a small town in Namibia for a little while on a farm. It's like a farmhouse kind of a thing. I was living there for about 3 months to do some songwriting before I moved to South Africa. And this song came up while I was sitting in a dry river in Omaruru. That's the town's name. I was watching a sunset. You know, when you're alone by choice but kind of disgruntled about it. You're like, oh, this sucks, but I chose this. So you kind of angry at yourself, but also accepting the moment of the immense loneliness, but also the very togetherness with yourself. So I was sitting there feeling very sorry for myself in that moment, and a tiny cockroach crawled past because there's a lot of them in the river for some reason. But he was also by himself, but he was very in a hurry to go somewhere. And I was just thinking, damn you. There's always a lot of them. You know what I mean? And here I am by myself, and he's going to go over there and have a braai with his buddies. And here I am like an idiot. And well, he brought me this song, he, she. I didn't assume his gender. But yeah, so it started with that thought process of if you can't be alone, you can't really be with people. Or you shouldn't be around people if you're very uncomfortable with being alone, because who are you then when you are with people? So that's kind of what the song is about. Obviously, it's about a lot of stuff, but yeah.
Wonderful. And I feel like knowing that I'm going to love it even more.
Oh,
I want to go home and listen to it right now. Okay, so what about collaboration, songwriting with other people? What are your feelings?
So far, I've never done that. It's not something I'm against, but it's such a sacred space for me that I go into, and I feel very exposed and vulnerable while I'm writing, because it's such a process of, it will feel for me like getting dressed in front of people. I don't do that. It's weird, you know, so I haven't been comfortable so far to collaborate with writing. But once the song exists, it's always interesting to see how other people might interpret it or express that exact same thing so differently. So for me, that could be interesting. I haven't done that a lot, but I'd be more comfortable with that than writing.
Totally understand.
Got some growing up to do. Maybe not keep it so precious, but yeah.
And I suppose tying along with that, what do you feel about jamming?
I'm not a jammer. It's terrifying because it feels like it can never be the best work.
Yeah.
It's like I honor the work so much that jamming for me feels like it's not enough.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I enjoy the free flow, and you know, when I watch people jam, it looks like a lot of fun. And for the purpose of fun, that's great. But for the purpose of saying something, it requires more time.
And that's why you do it.
Yeah.
You have something to say.
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask you tips for musicians on how to be a better collaborator then.
Sorry about that.
Okay. I mean, I briefly mentioned the challenges. What are some of the challenges do you think the musicians today are facing?
Well, first of all, I only speak for my experience. I can never really say what other musicians are going through. I don't know. It's so subjective and personal, and it's extremely personal, actually. The challenges that I faced is just, it's also not really industry related, because I've never really paid much attention to industry, because that's not why I'm doing this at all. So yes, there are challenges. There's, you know, a lack of support. There's a lack of platforms where you can share the music, and people know a lot about that already. I think musicians tend to really drive that point home often. So
one might say we complain.
You know, it's just, you know, sharing maybe. I don't know. So I work very hard at not focusing on such challenges, because that would make me not want to do this, because I'm not sure if a solution is close. So, and that would stop me. So I don't look at it. I just don't. I willingly keep my head buried in the sand concerning these industry challenges that everybody's talking about. And I'm not oblivious to it, and I'm not in denial, but it doesn't serve me to talk about it.
Yeah.
It will block the music, I think. So I just wait for the songs and I catch them and I go and play them. And it's not always easy, but what is easy? You know, every vocation has challenges and all these things. And it's a very unsatisfying answer to this question, I suppose. But because what I do is so personal, it can't not be personal when it comes to industry talk as well.
Oh, that's great. It's refreshing, actually. Let's talk COVID.
What's that?
How have you been, I suppose your music, I'm talking more specifically.
Yeah.
How has your music been affected? Or
Immensely.
impacted?
I think initially not a lot changed because I am already kind of, you know, with the lockdown stuff, you know, the hard lockdown in the beginning, it didn't bother me that much because I'm a bit of a hermit anyway. So it didn't change a lot in my day to day. But later on, I noticed that life needs my attention somewhere else. And I didn't create a thing. It was like everything was just frozen. And I think a lot of people obviously feel this way. I mean, so many jobs lost and, you know, places closing down. And it was a lot of closing downness going around. And I think that collection of, oh no, what are we going to do? Thing was very present in the air. And as a highly sensitive person, that it couldn't not affect me. And I kind of stepped into this agreement with it, like, okay, you know what, I'm not going to fight this thing and now furiously create. And because, you know, no, you have so much time, you must be writing so much. I'm like, nah, I'm just feeling the things. Yeah. And it sucks. And it has to suck right now. It's interesting how sometimes that is necessary to get quiet and just let things be very uncomfortable. And I think that prepared the soil a little bit for very, very new and interesting things to start popping up, hopefully.
I love that description of preparing the soil. I like to often think of it as seasons.
Oh, yeah.
And in some of those seasons, you're just listening.
Definitely.
Oh, so I'm so excited about what's coming. So stuff is coming, hey?
Absolutely. It has to. That's just how things work.
So then what does making music look like for you right now?
A lot of silence. I've explored other creative avenues and, you know, I've considered a lot of, you know, maybe I should do something else because there's this very real thing of, you know, I also need to make money. I've been very blessed and very lucky that my parents were in a position to kind of help out a little bit in this time. And it's really strange for someone my age to have that thing going on. But I'm not ashamed to talk about it because there was literally no other way to live. We couldn't play, we couldn't gig. People might already own the song, so they don't buy digital versions of it. Streaming is ridiculous. We don't make any money from that. So it was a very real thing. And with that, making music became it's completely different. And it's still so familiar at the same time. You know, the songs are the same, but I'm not the same. So it feels really different. So it's an adventure, and I'm still discovering what music is like for me now, to be honest. I don't have that answer.
Do you feel like you've changed as a person?
Absolutely. Like I'm not even the same 1 hour to the next. You know what I mean? Like if you're really aware of what's going on around you and you're in touch with how everyone around you is feeling and stuff, it affects you. So you can't really, definitely. I'm not the same I was a year ago.
Totally. It felt like a reset.
Oh, yes.
This question a week ago would have been even more relevant, but I'm still going to ask it.
Great.
What do you predict for the future of live music after 2020?
I don't predict things because, you know, scientifically, if you want to predict something, you have to look back and, you know, review and take stock. And I'm not a look back kind of person. Yeah. I'm just here now. And you can't predict from the here now.
Yeah.
You just can't. So I don't actually care.
Absolutely. I mean, do you have any shows lined up?
I've got a few shows lined up, but all these things are also, it's penciled in the calendar because we don't know what the hell is going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of almost have something to look forward to, like a tour in December to go to Cape Town and all these places and the garden route or whatever, but we'll see if that's possible. And I'm really okay either way.
Just go with
Just here, man.
So, I've already asked this actually about you continuing creating, because I went back to what drives you. We did that already.
Oh yeah, I might say something different now because I'm not the same person
I was
half
a minute
an
hour ago. I'm going to ask it anyway. Okay. What makes you continue creating?
It's literally just this. What else will I do? This is what I came here to do. That's it. That's the only reason. And I think what makes it okay, or what fuels it, is, after a gig, that feeling, there's a moment where you really connect with one person who's out there. And you don't see them at first, but they're there. You feel them while you're playing. And sometimes afterwards they come to you and they're like, this made everything okay. Thank you for making me feel like I'm okay. And that's the thing.
Oh, that's the thing. My worst thing, though, is when you think you're having that experience and you make eye contact with someone and you're thinking, this is shifting you. I can see that. And then afterwards they kind of blankly look drunk.
Oh, that's out there as well, unfortunately.
There are those moments.
There are those ones. But it's, I think even for those ones, it's some kind of therapy. Otherwise they wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that they kind of diluted it with alcohol or whatever they're using at the time, because I think that it waters down the message or the feeling, and that's sad for me, but it still connects with them.
Totally. I've been thinking a lot about it in terms of that numbing and how not just alcohol. We use the everyday numbing of food as one of the things.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The internet.
Yeah.
Social media.
It's wild.
And it is wild.
I've been working on some mindfulness stuff. And it's so ouch, but remarkable, because you use it on the things like eating. You slow down and you start to do it consciously because you have to eat. What do they call it? Habit stacking, where you do make a new habit on top of a habit you have to already do.
Oh, yes.
So you add mindfulness to eating.
That's cool.
And it starts to shift you in every area.
It definitely, it spills over to everything else. That's great. I like that.
This is a particularly hard one for a musician who loves music.
Okay.
What is a song that you wish that you'd written?
I have two. So one is Don't Forget Me by Harry Nilsson. Oh, that song just gets me every time. It feels like, no, that was my song. And there's another one by Diamanda Galas called Baby's Insane. And also, I really resonate with that song as well.
Wonderful. I'm going to go listen, because to be honest, I don't know either of the songs.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yay. I'll send them to you.
Please do.
Links, obviously, because you're going to buy it, aren't you?
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what you do. You buy musicians' music. Or you stream it 1,000 times over while you sleep.
Oh, definitely. Or, just share the shit out of it.
Yeah, that's a good way. In fact, speaking of which, we're going to find out in a moment all of Andra's social media contacts, and you can share those. That would be good. Okay, I'm not going to ask wish list collaboration, because you don't wish to collaborate. Or do you?
Not with writing, but maybe someday with performing.
Okay.
Or just playing.
Yeah,
right?
so wish list collaboration, performing.
A very obvious answer where I'm coming from would be someone like either Tom Waits or Bruce Springsteen, but I would really dissolve in their presence. I would just die. So that would not be practical or possible for me. So I would choose someone who I respect as an artist, but I wouldn't collapse in their presence. So someone like Moby, such a brilliant artist and has been really brave with what he brings. And it's so diverse, which I really love. I love variety. So Moby and Massive Attack as well. Unmistakably them, but it's so diverse, and that I really respect, and it might be fun to play with.
Wonderful. This is the crux of the matter. In light of all of the above, what advice would you give young indie artists?
Nothing. Not a thing, not a thing. You know what? Advice is such a tricky thing because I'm going to have to know who I'm speaking to and why they are doing this or why they want to do this, because then it can be helpful. Otherwise, these sweeping statements of work hard, definitely, obviously, if you want to do this, you're going to have to work hard. If you want to do anything, you have to work hard. So I can't I don't do the advice thing, or I don't do it well because I need more information. But I think especially young ones who are starting out are really brave already. It's like it's packed into you. I remember when I was much younger, I was really stupidly brave. And then you start gathering a lot of information. There's a lot of interference that shows up along the way that kind of blocks you or confuses you and stuff. So I think just stay clear because you are already. Just stay clear.
That's great encouragement. I think stay clear is a wonderful, wonderful bit of advice, even though you don't like the word advice. Okay, how can people get in touch with you?
I have a website, andra.co.za, which I never update because I hate it. I'm not good at these things. And I have people who do it, but I never actually tell them what to do with it. Social media, andra.co.za as well on Facebook, and Andra Secrets on Instagram.
I'm interested to know about your support system. I mean, we've spoken about your parents, and that's incredible because I'm right with you there. We've all needed some kind of support.
Yeah.
But on a more day-to-day level, particularly with the music, do you surround yourself with people who are champions for what you do?
Yes. It was kind of, I chose well, and a lot of amazing earth angels have shown up. Yeah, I don't know if I surround myself with them or if I force them to be around me all the time. But definitely there's a lot of people that have, once again, it's like that just feeling of you're on track. It's just that affirmation or not validation because that's such an ego thing. But, just to make it feel like you're doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
Just keep doing that thing. It sucks. It's difficult. It's almost impossible, but we've got you. I have a handful of those that are really precious to me, and they know exactly who they are.
Wonderful. So lucky.
Very. How about you?
I do. But it's again that same thing about that community of people. And I felt the same way with the crowdfunding stuff, that there are many points over the past 4 or 5 years that I would have stopped making music.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't mean stop making music in terms of creating for myself, but stop putting it out there.
Right.
Life is just so hectic, and there's been so much along the way that has distracted me.
Oh, yes.
And if I didn't have people waiting for things,
right,
I think that I would have just stopped putting it out there.
Definitely.
So there's two kinds of support systems. The support system of my family and the immediate ones whose support doesn't always look affirmative.
Right.
I have some friends in my support system who they're not yes people.
I see.
Incredible constructive criticism.
Okay.
But they tell me when I am being false.
Right.
And for me, in fact, that's the most important part of being a musician, is being true and authentic.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And because of these people, I have dropped layers and layers and layers.
That's great.
Shed them to be able to become the part of myself that is closest to the source.
Oh, yes. That is so good.
So I'm thankful for those. And I suppose often for people listening, those ones can feel hard to listen to.
Well, it depends on where you are. You know what I mean?
This is the truth.
Yes.
And if you can see it,
Definitely, because it's like they remind you. It's not it's not a sticker that they put on you. You're being false. They're like, remember who you are.
Yeah.
Simba. So,
yes.
So it's just, people who remind you of your trajectory.
And it's that same synchronicity that you're speaking of, that you're on the right path when you feel that, when you get exposed to people like that.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been lovely. Thank you for coming all the way from Pretoria.
You're so welcome. It was an adventure. I don't come here often. So every time I feel like I'm going on this quest. So great. Thank you so much for having me.
And it has been a quest. It's a quest for me, and I'm grateful that you are part of it.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to another production from Solid Gold Podcasts.
Goldfish in my room, I want your brain. Would you be willing to trade? or to not have any. No obligations, no responsibilities, no. I don't want to be empty, I don't want you either, so just leave me. If I can't be alone, how can I be with you? I wanna hold your hand, but I don't know how to. I don't want to hurt you, I don't want to break you. I will not tear into to be with you. Cockroach on the kitchen floor, I don't